While Hogwarts has seen many great headmasters like Albus Dumbledore, Armando Dippet, and Neve Fitzgerald, there's one headmaster who stands apart as the absolute worst in the school's 1,000-year history, and that dubious honor belongs to Phineas Nigellus Black, a man so despised that even his own great-great-grandson called him the least popular headmaster Hogwarts had ever seen. But how did a pureblood wizard from one of the most prestigious families in the wizarding world become such a failure as an educator? Welcome to Movie Flame. I'm Morgan Ross, and today we're going to explore the life of Phineas Nigellus Black and discover exactly why he earned this infamous reputation. If you enjoy this video, please consider liking and sharing. It will greatly help to grow and sustain the channel. And if you like what you see, hit that subscribe button, and you can also follow me on all of my other social media pages, all of which are linked down below, and all of which house similar content that I make here on this channel. Now, let's get into it. Born in 1847 into the notorious House of Black, Phineas Nigellus was raised in a household obsessed with blood purity. The Blacks were one of the sacred 28 pureblood families, meaning they were listed to be entirely pureblood, having no outside relation with Muggles, and they made sure that everyone knew it. His parents instilled in him a deep-seated belief in pureblood supremacy from an early age, teaching him to view Muggleborns as an inferior and referring to them with the slur mudbloods. Phineas had 3 siblings, his older brother Sirius, who tragically died in childhood, and whom Sirius Black, Harry Potter's godfather, was named after. Elidora, who would later start the charming family tradition of beheading aged house elves. Jesus. And Iola, who would eventually be disowned for the unforgivable crime of marrying a Muggle. God forbid. At the age of 11, around 1858, Phineas got his Hogwarts letter inviting him to attend Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Before heading off to school, he went shopping in Diagon Alley, getting his wand, textbook, and everything else on the list from his Hogwarts letter. One thing that wasn't on the list that would have made his transition to schooling smoother was high-quality headphones. Raycon's everyday earbuds are a must-have for any student, and honestly everyone in general, both adults and kids alike. Thank you to Raycon for sponsoring this video. The latest version of Raycon's Everyday Earbuds Classic now feature active noise cancellation, the one thing previous models were missing. They have 3 sound modes, all tailored to your preference. Pure sound, which is great for podcasts and audiobooks, balanced sound, which is best for music lovers, and bass sound, which is great for songs with strong beats. Pair that with 8 hours of playtime and a 32-hour battery, your Raycons will never leave your ears. I use mine while working, making sure the audio quality of my videos is perfect. I also use them while working out, and the way they design the headphones ensures they never fall out, no matter what kind of workout I'm doing. They also have a wide variety of styles and looks, which gives you a chance to choose a design that fits you and your style. Go to buyraycon.com/movieflame to get 20% off site-wide, or scan the QR code right here. Trust me, you won't regret it. Now, back to the show. When Phineas arrived at Hogwarts, he was immediately sorted into Slytherin House. No surprise there. Even as a student, Phineas showed signs of arrogance and disrespect that would define his later career. He was once reprimanded by Dinah Hecat, the head girl of Ravenclaw House, for eating a sugar quill during the middle of a lecture. A small act of defiance, but one that hinted at his lack of respect for the professor teaching. After graduating from Hogwarts around 1865, Phineas married a woman named Ursula Flint, connecting himself to another prominent pureblood family. Also, you might recognize the last name Flint, as that was the same family from which Marcus Flint, the captain of the Slytherin Quidditch team during Harry's time, was a part of. Together, Phineas and Ursula had 5 children. Sirius, who was named after Phineas's deceased brother, Phineas, named after himself, Arcturus, Belvina, and Cygnus. And here's where we see another major red flag in Phineas's character, which would come out later when he was headmaster. He was reportedly an absolutely terrible father. He was described as distant and neglectful, rarely visiting or speaking with his wife and children. While he ensured they were financially provided for, he showed little emotional investment in their lives. This neglect had consequences though, at least in Phineas's eyes. His son Phineas Jr. grew up to completely reject his father's pure-blood supremacist views and actively supported Muggles' rights. Phineas Sr.'s response? He entirely disowned the very son who shared his name. Phineas Nigellus valued his prejudiced ideology more than his own son, a telling insight into his character's priorities. Eventually, Phineas returned to Hogwarts as a professor, though he made no secret of the fact that he absolutely loathed teaching. He found the students impertinent and tiresome, showing none of the passion for education that should define a good teacher. This was not someone who became an educator out of a love for learning or desire to shape young minds. This was someone going through the motions of a career that he fundamentally despised. His disdain for his students was so obvious that it became part of his legacy. He once said, "Never try to understand the students. They hate it. They would much rather be tragically misunderstood, wallow in self-pity." These words were not the wisdom of an experienced educator. This was the bitter complaint of someone who had given up on the very people he was supposed to be helping, the students. Despite his obvious unsuitability, the Ministry of Magic appointed Phineas Nigellus as Headmaster of Hogwarts, a big promotion from just being a professor. But he only accepted the position for the prestige and benefits it offered, not out of any desire to actually run the school or educate children the way Albus Dumbledore did. He saw the role as a social status symbol rather than a responsibility. Much of Black's actual administrative work had to be taken over by Deputy Headmistress Matilda Weasley, who essentially ran the school while Phineas enjoyed the title and benefits of being headmaster. He was a figurehead who actively made the institution worse rather than better like Professor Weasley did. Almost immediately, his tenure became a disaster. Let's look at some of his greatest hits. First, he banned Quidditch during the 1890-91 school year after a student was injured in the previous spring's final. Now, you might think this sounds reasonable, until you realize he only canceled it because the player that got hurt was a pureblood, which led to the pureblood team losing the championship. He canceled the season just to be petty, and never would have canceled it had a Muggleborn been hurt. He did this with complete disregard for student morale and did not attempt to find any other alternative solution, even though it would have been very easy to do so. The decision was so unpopular that students and staff alike despised him for it, with Madame Kagawa pestering him all year to reinstate the beloved sport. A student wrote in a book from the Hogwarts library saying that Professor Black was a prat for canceling Quidditch. And honestly, that probably was not the worst thing students called him during his tenure as headmaster. Phineas followed that up by making bizarre administrative decisions, like ordering the removal of bells from the school's bell towers, claiming they gave him headaches. Oh my god, dude. Though rumors suggested that he didn't like the bells because they reminded him of his wedding day. And third, the 1890-91 school year really showcased just how incompetent Phineas was as headmaster. While the Wizarding World faced one of its greatest threats, Ranrock's Goblin Rebellion that literally aimed to destroy the Wizarding World, Phineas was actually getting drunk in Hogsmeade while his students and staff risked their lives. My goodness. Then when Ranrock actually invaded Hogwarts itself, when the goblins were literally attacking the school, Headmaster Phineas Nigellus Black was nowhere to be found during the battle. He did not participate in defending his own school. Every other professor stepped up to help. Professor Weasley, Garlick, Sharp, Fig, Hecate, and even the head of Slytherin House, Professor Ronan, all stepped up to help fight and protect the school. Meanwhile, their boss and headmaster was completely absent. The battle led to the death of Professor Fig, who died heroically defending the school and defeating Ranrock. Though he was absent from the battle, Phineas had the audacity to give one of the worst and most disrespectful memoriam speeches about Fig.
He built a reputation charging into the unknown, brazenly disregarding both discretion and safety, providing perhaps a rather unfortunate lesson for us all. And of course, to his wife,
He couldn't even properly honor a man who died saving the Wizarding World, as well as the school that Phineas was the leader of. Phineas's bigotry wasn't just a personal character flaw. He actively tried to corrupt Hogwarts with his prejudices. He attempted to persuade Minister Ferris Spavin to change the school's admissions process, almost certainly to favor purebloods and to restrict Muggle-born students. Thankfully, the minister declined this request, but the fact that Black even tried to turn Hogwarts into an exclusive pureblood institution is sort of sickening. His discriminatory practices extended to student discipline as well. When two students were bullying a half-blood victim,
Please! Incendio! Oh, no! It's Black. He's coming.
book.
They took my book, sir.
I wasn't talking to you.
Phineas failed to take action, dismissing the situation with the cryptic and useless advice, saying,
He's a half-blood, sir.
The wise rabbit doesn't seek to outrun the tortoise, because it's not necessary.
He then told the half-blood student to stay out of the pureblood student's way, even though they were the bullies.
And you, stay out of their way.
It just keeps getting worse and worse. Jesus, dude. Students throughout the school knew about his prejudices, and many said openly that the headmaster hates everyone who isn't a pureblood Slytherin. When your own students recognize your bias so clearly that it becomes common knowledge, you've failed as an educational leader. Just another example of why he earned the reputation that he did. After more than 35 years of being headmaster, Phineas died while still being in the role, and he was preceded by Headmaster Armando Dippet, who was miles better than him. Phineas died in the year 1925 at the age of 78, leaving behind a legacy of failure that would haunt Hogwarts for generations. At the time of his death, he had 5 children, at least 13 grandchildren, and 2 great-grandchildren, all of whom he had almost no relationship with. As said earlier, his own great-great-grandson Sirius Black would later describe him as the least popular headmaster Hogwarts had ever had. Even in death, as a portrait in the headmaster's office, Phineas continued to be difficult and unhelpful. Even though it was his portrait's job to help the current headmaster, Black did not enjoy assisting Albus Dumbledore, thinking that Albus was too eccentric. His portrait also followed suit with his real self, and maintained his prejudiced views, continuing to use slurs against Muggleborns, until Severus Snape, another Slytherin headmaster, told him not to say the word mudblood. This was of course sparked by the fact that Snape had lost the love of his life, Lily Evans, when he called her that slur, but it was still a nice moment when he told Phineas's portrait not to say it. If we look at Phineas Nigellus Black's life, it's clear why he's the worst headmaster in Hogwarts history. He never wanted to actually lead or educate. He only took the job for prestige and personal benefit. He was also absent during perhaps the school's greatest crisis. He actively tried to corrupt the institution with his own prejudices, even attempting to exclude Muggleborns. He failed to protect victims of discrimination, instead condoning it. He was neglectful of his basic duties, letting his deputy handle most of the real work, while he just enjoyed the title, oftentimes even getting drunk in the bar. And he showed no respect for students or staff, viewing them as annoyances rather than people who he was supposed to serve. He is the worst Hogwarts headmaster in history. That is, until a certain woman who loves to wear pink found her way to Hogwarts 100 years after Phineas. Thanks so much for watching, guys. If you like this video, I have a bunch of other videos similar to this, like this one where I discuss the origin of how Remus Lupin became a werewolf, or this one where I do an in-depth deep dive into Horcruxes. That's all for this video though. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.